Should we do that? Let's do that.
Sure, why not?
Let's do that. I'm gonna need you to bring some energy on this one, although I will do my best to be objective here. Dug McDaniel is getting a lot of praise. That's all that I will say to tee this up. Right now, we've heard it from multiple sources. We've heard it from Davis, who's come on the show a couple times and said anytime he is with anybody, all they do is gas up Dug McDaniel. Then you get a preseason press conference from Juwan Howard where he's asked about the entire team. And I mean this when I say it. I watched the video card. I have not seen Juwan Howard praise a player more than Dug McDaniel this offseason in his time at Michigan. I have no idea what that means, but it's rare because you can go back through the last 3 years. Juwan Howard rarely throws any type of praise or attention on freshmen. He downplays it. He keeps it quiet. He honestly is not great with the media. He doesn't answer a lot of questions, honestly, or like in creative answers the way Tom Izzo does. So this stands out as notable to me that he is going there about Dug. And even more notable to me, he hasn't said a word in 2 years about a certain Kobe Buffkin. So to me, those things correspond with each other. There's a correlation there. There's a reason. And I am thinking that Dug McDaniel is going to play a big role on this team. What do you make of all of this? Because Dug McDaniel is still 5'8".
Yeah, and you know what? And that's where kind of my point will start because I'm very well adverse with a coaching staff and players on a team hyping up a 5'8" point guard. The 5'8" point guard that was hyped up on my end resided from Clarkston, Michigan, and could shoot the ball. Your 5'8" guy can't shoot the ball, but he's tough. He's very tough, but he's short. But don't look too much at him being short because he's extremely tough. But if you measure him, he's short. So at the end of the day, you have a backcourt that is 6'1" and 5'8", 5'9", which is kind of tough.
But he's tough.
But they're tough. That's the thing. They're gritty. Like, you want them in your corner. You want Dug McDaniel in an alley with you. That's great and all. But when the Chrysler sounds like Hiroshima when you're shooting jump shots, it's not gonna really be all that dope. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of this. It's kind of weird that Dug is getting all the love when you got guys like Jet and even Yo-Yo's like been a part of like all the he's like on campus and enrolled in practices and all that.
Yeah, he's full on student player.
Yeah, like I haven't heard I feel like I haven't heard anything about him. Haven't even heard anything about anybody, to be honest. All I hear is about Dug McDaniel and people hyping him up. And that has me thinking it's a little too good to be true. This sounds like an inside job.
Yeah, I think there's a good amount of this that is coming from the fact that this team just isn't very good. I haven't gone on record with too much about this Michigan team because I want to see them before I make anything definitive. What I do feel. Go ahead.
Wait, before you move on, I got a fun little game right here.
Okay.
It's called the Summer Michigan Player Quiz. All right. Okay. What player would need summer hype for you to be excited about your team? Like, which player would, if they're getting the summer hype, you'd be like, oh, we're good going into the season? Like, which player would be the least like, oh, we're screwed this season?
I think the answer for sure from a hype standpoint would be Kobe, just because like right now Kobe Buffkin is dialed in for 30 minutes and there's not a lot of answers. Like if Kobe Buffkin can't play that spot, it has to be Dug. You have to play 2-point guards. And I think like that's just my biggest fear is Kobe's horrible. He shoots the ball like AJ Hogarth still, and he has to play 30 minutes and we stink. Like that's a very real possibility. Right now, there's been nothing positive coming out about Kobe from anybody. We've heard some behind the scenes like, oh yeah, the staff really trusts him. The staff really likes him. But like, as far as his ability, we've heard nothing positive there. And we saw nothing positive there from last season or from the overseas trip. So the answer, if I could manifest something positive, it would be about Kobe. From a negative standpoint, what would hurt the team most is definitely Llewellyn. Like if we were hearing nothing or if we heard anything negative about Jalen Llewellyn, that would be the worst case scenario for Michigan. But that doesn't sound like that's the case. Llewellyn looked great overseas and by all accounts is the second best player on this team.
Okay. It's a little game right there. Just wanted to see where
Yeah.
your head's at, but you can go ahead with your point.
No, it's a fun game. Where I stand with this Michigan team is I don't think they're better than last year. I said this on Spaces last night, but I think the losses of Max Christie and by default for Michigan, Caleb Houston and even Musa Diabate to an extent are gonna be felt in a way that no fan is willing to admit. Like Max Christie just stepped on the same court as Steph Curry and LeBron last night. He's 1 for 1 from three in his career. While like we can talk about how we hope Jaden Akins gets there someday, or we think Tyson Walker is going to be really good this year, those guys aren't Max Christie. I don't care what he shot last year. Like Max Christie was a bigger threat to defenses than those guys will ever be. Same with Caleb Houston and whoever's playing his role this year for Michigan. Same with Musa Diabate and whoever's playing his role this year for Michigan. And what I think works for Michigan this year is they think this team fits better. I think more important than anything, Hunter Dickinson likes this team better. If you heard some of what he said at media day, like he was pretty straight up about like we have good chemistry this year we didn't have last year. And he was at media day shitting on his teammates the year before. So I think that's good. Like this team has doubled and tripled down on we're gonna do everything for Hunter. And now, like, I think that's a good formula for Michigan to try to win by when you've got a National Player of the Year candidate. Let's do everything we can to maximize Hunter. And Hunter certainly feels that they've done that. Now it's on Hunter to deliver. But yeah, I don't know. My biggest fear right now in general and why I think this team is going to be held back is because I do think Kobe Bufkin's going to play big minutes on this team. And I just think Kobe Bufkin's really bad. And like Dylan from Hoops, who I love the Hoops site and the forums, and we were talking the other day and he's like, it's not about his percents. It's not about what he shoots. It's about just, is he a threat? Is it his attempts? And that's fine to say on paper, but like, it's driving me nuts with everybody on all sides of teams right now. It does matter to make shots. Making shots 100% matters. Like LeBron James just hit the podium last night after opening day and was like, oh yeah, we got a ton of good shots, but we're not good shooters. And we're going to keep shooting these shots because we have to, but there's not a lot of 40% shooters on this team. That's why we're bad. And that's the same thing for college teams. You have to have shooting. And so I don't care if Kobe Bufkin's shooting 5 threes a game and hitting one of them, Michigan's a really bad team if he's playing that much. So that's what I expect at this point. And I'm really, really scared about it. The Dug hype is good because that provides a safety valve, but I don't know. Like if this Michigan team is best with Dug and Llewellyn together, that doesn't seem like it's a good thing for this Michigan team.
All right, last thing I'll say about Michigan. Actually, two last things I'll have to say about this. One, with this being like our podcast and us like being able to make up the rules, one thing we're not going to do is use the words threat and Cormac in the same sentence. Not actually air it and put it out in the world because that's not a true thing. And two, I honestly don't think that. Or I think the loss of Caleb Houston is going to hurt a lot less than you think for you guys, because Caleb Houston probably hovered around 34% last year from three.
I feel like
or was it worse than that?
I feel like he was better than that, to be honest. I'll look it up.
Was it? Okay, look it up real quick. But then what I'm saying is I think that there are guys on the team right now for Michigan that can get you or shoot 35%, and that's all you need. And then I think that Terrence Williams can actually be a respectable three-point shooter and show that he can be towards the end of last year, which I think might fit better with Hunter than Musa fit with Hunter.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joey Baker would fit better with Hunter than any of these names we've said, which but again, Joey Baker's objectively not a great basketball player. But if we're just talking fit around our superstar, like he fits better than any of these guys do.
You're Joey Baker with DraftKings.
Yeah, I am. I've been cooking in my open gym runs, by the way. Caleb Houston, 35.5% on 5 attempts last year. Like
I feel like there's a guy on 5 attempts is pretty.
But this is why I'm struggling with everybody just writing those guys off, is because I actually think Houston was very good last year. And if you gave me the opportunity to get Houston back, like I run through that door and
but he was an absolute he was a liability on the defensive end and rebounding.
Yeah, you know who else?
And honestly, even offense, like he was
Oh,
besides hitting
he wasn't a
35%.
liability offensively at all. He was, I mean, you talk about all you want is floor spacing for Hunter Dickinson. Look, whether or not the shots went in for both Christie and Houston, like other opposing defenses and coaches had to scheme around those guys. Like,
Right. So I will say this: like he did give you 35%. Like if you plug that 35% into this year's team with Terrence Williams at the 4, Hunter at the 5, that works. But what I'm saying is, like you pointed out, I think Joey Baker could shoot 35% from the 3-point line. And I think that he could be better on the defensive end and maybe even better on the offensive end in other parts of the game than Caleb Houston
eh, that seems
in college.
that seems stretchy to me. But maybe I hear what you're saying. Like Christie and Houston were not good. They were a big part of the problems for those teams, 100%. But like, there's some pedigree shit there. Like, we all would have driven Max Christie back to East Lansing if we could have, and expected him to be pretty good this year. Like,
Ooh, what you mean? We would have?
you wouldn't have done that.
Nah.
Well, that's dumb. First of all, and I promise you,
He
the
burned
narrative.
He burned bridges, man.
Yeah, he burned bridges, so now we're gonna shit on him. That's the non-objectiveness. If he was back in East Lansing, this is the best backcourt, and Christie's the starter, and he's playing 35 minutes. It's ridiculous to me.
Yeah, my man's.
Yeah,
I've been told you I didn't want him to come back.
you did say that. I'll give you that. But
I'm just saying that since day one.
I think that's because you saw the writing on the wall.
Free J Nakeds, man.
I'm already tired. Season hasn't even started. I'm already tired. Any comments from you on Juwan Howard and his ducking?
Just, I mean, he's showing a pattern. This is what he does. Now he's just doing it without COVID excuses. Now he's just straight up ducking in plain sight against a team that his nickname is the Ducks.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Juwan Howard was asked basically about Michigan not returning a home and home where Oregon came to Michigan and played. Michigan has not gone back to Oregon and played. And Dana Altman kind of put us on blast and said, like, yeah, we're waiting on that game. Where is it? And Juwan Howard was like, well, if you look at the contract, we're not owing them anything. Like, we don't have to play that game, which is very ducking. Like, this is way more of a duck than the duck that people accused him of 2 years ago. So,
also, why would he duck the Oregon? Why would he duck the Oregon Ducks?
I don't know. I don't.
That's not a team to me that's worth ducking necessarily.
I don't love all things Juwan Howard does. I just love some of them, Cart. And I think maybe our listeners could learn something from that. Maybe, Cart, couldn't they? Maybe it's good to not love everything about your program at all times. Like, maybe you can say when things go wrong every now and then.
Loving your program's a little overrated in your eyes.
I'm just messed up in the head.